Hi, and welcome to Basic Folk, where we have honest conversations with folk musicians on the bluegrass situation. I'm your host, Cindy Howes, and thanks for checking out the show today. We have Maya Vitry, Ethan Jodziewicz, Joel Timmons, and Shelby Means on the show today. It's going to be very exciting. But first, let's talk about ways to stay in touch. You can join our monthly newsletter at the link in the show notes, or you can go to basicfolk.com, sign up there. You can follow us on social media at Basic Folk Pod, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You can also become a contributing member. $5 a month, a great way to support this cute little folk podcast. Link in the show notes for the link to donate, or you can go to basicfolk.com/donate. Make your contribution there, and thanks. Okay. Whew. I hope you're having a great summer. It's just about wrapped up here. You maybe are thinking like summer is over. I am already eating my Halloween candy, which great. Good for you. I'm still in the thick of summer. I'm getting a lot of bug bites, a lot of hornet stings, thanks to my dog who loves to stir up a hornet's nest and then is upset when they chase her down the road. That's what we're dealing with here. Hope everything is well in your world. Let's get to the show. Maya Vitry, Ethan Jodziewicz, Joel Timmons, and Shelby Means are on the show today talking about their new collaborations. Maya produced both Shelby and Joel's debut albums this year. Joel and Ethan play in Maya's band, and the two couples, Joel and Shelby, are married, and Ethan and Maya are partners. They are very close friends. They all met in Nashville, where Maya and Ethan still live, while Joel and Shelby live in Charleston. Joel talks about the huge gesture Shelby made in leaving Nashville behind for his hometown of Charleston, and he also talks about the elated feeling they both got when Shelby, who has also played bass in Della, got the chance to play upright in Molly Tuttle and Golden Highway. Big themes of this friend group include trust, lifting each other up, and being one another's vibe coaches. In our conversation, we talk about choosing love, connecting with your music friends in non-musical ways, and of course, the most epic hair in Americana, Joel Timmons and his mullet. The group shares insights on how they are still close and able to connect and spend time with each other despite the distance. Short flights and drives are worth it when you've got friends like this. During the interview, we'll hear a couple clips from Maya and Joel and Shelby. But in the meantime, let's get to our conversation with Maya Vitry, Ethan Jodziewicz, Joel Timmons, and Shelby Means. Thank you guys so much for being here. Maya Vitry, Ethan Jodziewicz, Shelby Means, and Joel Timmons. A meeting of the minds. Welcome to Basic Folk.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy.
So anybody can answer any question unless I have like unless I'm addressing a particular person. But before we start, if everybody could go around and just say hi and what their name is so people know what your voices sound like. So Maya, can you start?
Hi, my name is Maya Vitry.
This is Ethan Jodziewicz over here.
Hey, this is Shelby Means, and you're listening to Basic Folk.
That's totally what this sounds like. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Joel.
Hi, I'm Joel Timmons.
You all have so many musical projects and collaborations and have been playing music all of your lives. So this might seem like kind of a simple question, but I'm interested to know, like, what can you say about music being a bridge to meeting other people and connecting with other people, and how has that bridge changed as you settled into your lives?
Good question.
I think initially it was, kind of felt like kids on the playground, when you're younger, like, you play music, I play music, let's try playing music together. And that's cool. And I feel like at a certain time, you kind of start realizing, oh, I kind of like going this direction. I kind of like playing this kind of music. And maybe you can sort of get more specific for a while, which I definitely saw happening for me in part over the last decade or so. And I guess at this moment now, I'm trying to feel a little bit more of the kid on the playground thing, and try and broaden the kinds of things I'm doing again.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm thinking about this because I'm at music camp here in Brevard, North Carolina, and going as a guitar student. And I remember going to Swananoa Gathering as a fiddle student when I was 18 and meeting Duncan Wickle and Bronwyn Keith Hines, who then later became a bandmate of Shelby's and Golden Highway, and Jack Devereaux, and just these people who were my age and were just as obsessed with music. And that was like a bridge I'd been looking for, I think, probably for years. And going to that place and that like summit, or I don't know, that destination helped me find people who were just, like not ashamed to just want to play fiddle tunes for 4 hours. And that was the whole hang. So that was a really important bridge for me when I think back on it. And yeah.
I was just thinking about being at camp and connecting with people like as a student. And for me, it was like in school choir and the band program. And like Ethan was saying, like, oh, you play music? I play music. Let's jam after school. And some of those friendships are still like my closest friends today. But there's been a long time of like traveling to perform music and experiencing the world as a touring musician, and the kind of connections and doors that get open to you through that way of expression are really, really exciting. We get, rather than just rocking up in some place as a tourist or a business traveler, people connect with the art, connect with the music and the lyrics, and they want to like show you something deep and personal about where they live or what they do. But I think it's so cool that we're back at camp now and just going to be like connecting with people just on the excitement of like making sound.
For me, music has been a bridge within my family. Musically, I grew up playing with my dad and my brother. We were inspired to play music because of my dad. But then once I got out into the broader world, like what Joel was saying, I had the privilege of joining Della, which is an all-women bluegrass band. And music was a cultural bridge in that way between different parts of the world in completely different upbringings, completely different languages. We would go to places where no one spoke English and start playing our music, and if we were with other musicians, they would be able to start jamming with us and start just connecting with us through music. So in that way, I think music is such a powerful bridge between cultures.
Great. Maya, the last time I saw you play, in fact, Ethan and Joel were with you, you were talking about wanting to make it small versus making it big. Do you remember talking about that? And what is your definition of making it small?
I think a lot about scale in what I'm doing, I guess, like, because I think you have to kind of define it for yourself a little bit, because otherwise it's so big what is kind of advertised as like what you would want or what you're seeking, or people on the outside looking in, like what they think you might want. I think making it small is, for me, it's having autonomy and like agency and being able to collaborate as deeply as I want with people that I care about. And it's keeping something spontaneous possible, I think. Like in July, I'm going out west and we're doing some shows together. Me, Joel, and Shelby, like in a kind of in the round format. we're also doing some shows that are Shelby Means shows, and I'm jumping up and playing fiddle on those. Shelby's going to play bass on a Maya Vitry show. And then there's this stretch of time that's just built in for like hiking and camping and maybe backpacking or, just some kind of unknown adventure. And Ethan is flying out to join us and be able to, be in that region for that time so that that's a part of it too. Like that's, that I can enjoy. I don't know, that I'm not like striving for something too shiny, that I miss those kinds of opportunities, like to be in Colorado or Wyoming or Utah in a way that feels like human and not just like I'm a machine that sings songs.
Right. Yeah. It seems like this is a group of musicians who are not trying to gain like many thousands of social media followers, like be best friends with Taylor Swift, like win all the awards. I read in one of your press releases, you described your post-Stray Birds life as breathing in a different atmosphere where you try to give and receive in a musical ecosystem where there's trust, people lifting each other up and letting music flow. So what does everybody else think of like that kind of musical ecosystem, and like what are your practices for living in that space versus the one where you're best friends with Taylor Swift and trying to get that EGOT?
Wait, you're saying we could be best friends with Taylor Swift? Do you have a connection?
Yes, it's a possibility.
Did you introduce me? Just kidding.
Well, funnily enough, talking about like being best friends with Taylor Swift, I have some friends now who I think are really, really amazing. And these folks are some of them. And there are others, and people who I think are truly amazing and deserve to be known by a whole lot of people. I guess it's just, I don't know. Sometimes I look at a lot of the records from, a few decades ago that I really love, and you start to notice there's a lot of the same players on them, and you start to realize they were all kind of in the same age group then, and they kind of lived in the same town maybe, and those people, by like investing in playing together and learning how to sound good on records together and how to collaborate well together, were able to create effectively like a genre or many genres that people now like us can listen to and really connect with the music and really feel like the players are really gelling. And so as far as like a musical ecosystem, I just think that I would rather than like trying to seek playing with somebody who's already super famous or something, I'd rather like have us all slowly become like at the very least like a cult classic, maybe like a few decades from now, there's like a devoted following of people who are like want to hear everything that Joel and Shelby and Maya and Ethan were part of, like in the 2020s through 40s or something, and same with the other folks I play with. So just the other thing I'll add too is, I think we've all on here found ourselves, I think we all come from humble musical beginnings where we just wanted to play music with our friends or alone in our bedrooms or whatever. And inevitably at a certain point, if you're doing this professionally, you suddenly find yourself on stage or backstage or in a studio with somebody who you really admire or who like actually is like famous, and you just have to be normal. And you kind of oftentimes get this realization that they're just a person who liked playing music with their friends when they were a kid too. And so some of those moments of the realism for me where I have found myself on stage with a hero or in another situation with a hero and just had to like take a deep breath and just try and be the musician that I am and not make it anything that it's not.
Yeah, I really connect with what you said, Ethan. That somewhat when I first moved to Nashville, maybe in 2015, most of my motivation was personal to get to know Shelby Means better. But I also did have professional and musical ambitions in Nashville with like regard to songwriting and co-writing. I thought maybe I could get in the room with some of these guys that are making this commercial country music, you know, and I could get some mailbox money. And I started going to those Nashville Songwriter Association meetings, you know, and it's like you're pitching songs and you're watching people, how they negotiate the craft, and you're hearing about some people that are getting these publishing deals. And at some point along the way, I don't remember who it was that gave me this advice that like, look, you're not going to crack into like that clique that's making the hits right now. What you need to do is look around at your peers, all the other people that moved to Nashville the same time as you, and find the people that you genuinely connect with. And those are the people that like in 5 or in 10 years, y'all are going to be the clique making the hits or whatever it is you want to be making, you know, and just deepen those connections with the people that are kind of like at your entry point to the scene. And that's really proven to be true. I mean, I think Maya and I moved to Nashville around the same time. It took a few years before we were friends and a few more years before we started collaborating, you know. But I found that to be really a wonderful ecosystem where we are playing different roles in each other's creative output, you know. And now
I love that advice that you got, Joel.
Yeah, it was really, you know, like I'm just going and like knocking on the publishing houses' doors. You know, they're like, well, we're all full, you know, but there's other ambitious, driven creatives that like want to write songs, you know. So find those people.
Also, could you quickly define mailbox money?
Mailbox money is like a shorthand for royalties. You know, if you were to have a song on the radio or in a movie and you owned the songwriting or the publishing rights to it, then you get that mailbox money. And now it's more like inbox money, I guess, you know.
Direct deposit.
Yeah.
Maya recently released a clawhammer banjo version of her song Flowers, which was originally on the album Violet Light from 2022. It's a beautiful song about the simplicity of reaching towards nourishment, like flowers reaching for rain. And Maya, you said you're continually fascinated by the word love and how so many things can get swept into the definition, including like care and acceptance, comfort and respect, but also sometimes control, domination, manipulation, until it's just a really warped and distorted and confusing idea, which like elicits anxiety thinking about that. However, this is maybe like another kind of simple question, but this is for anyone who wants to answer. Like in thinking about love and all the confusion and sadness it can bring, why do you think love is still worth pursuing and choosing? And what ways do you all work to try and choose love?
You're making me cry.
I thought that was a good Shelby question.
Oh, God. I think love is really important to pursue. And unfortunately, when you love people, it's a vulnerable place and you can get hurt, whether that means you're losing them or there's breakup involved or whatever that is. But love's probably the most powerful thing that we can do with each other, for each other, for ourselves even. Gotta love yourself first before you can love others. So that's a constant practice. And I do think it's worth it because I have lost people that I've loved deeply. And not just, I think that everything that I learned from those people that I've lost through the process of it is really important. And it's easy to question why. What's the point of life? Why should I keep going? I could just lay in bed all day and that would be easier than getting up and whatever. But I got my little dog Casper, who I love deeply, and he makes it worth it. Makes me want to keep going and pursue. And Joel brings me coffee in the morning. So like his love language is to, show up with service. And I think that all the loss that I've experienced through loving helps me be a deeper person and write better songs. So that's why love is important for the songwriting.
Beautiful.
I think at its best, when people see a performance or hear a record, it inspires them in some way. And especially seeing a live performance and seeing how people are connecting with each other on stage, I think that in particular can be inspiring to people. And I think a lot of times it's not about the music necessarily or about the words. I mean, it is, but just allowing people to see you being connected with yourself and with the other people around you, I think can inspire that connection in other people. And, you know, most of us probably have had some kind of experience like I had some years ago after a show with Sierra Hull. I had a guy come up to me in the audience who was saying that he, you know, had been basically attempting to get ready to kill himself every night for quite a while after he'd gotten back from some military service. And then he saw us perform and saw how we connected with each other, and it sparked something in him to reconnect with himself, and it like reopened some self-love. And, you know, he's telling me this and I'm like, you know, and he looks me right in the eye and says, like, if you ever forget why you do this, just remember this, you know? And there's been a couple times like that now. And I'll bet all of us here could say something like that, about how someone has told us how deeply just doing our thing has, affected them and maybe opened up the space for more love.
Definitely. I've like, you know, laying in bed on tour, and I'll like, at home I don't use my phone in bed, but I always break the rules on tour. And sometimes I'm just laying there and I get on Instagram and there's like a direct message from somebody saying exactly that, like out of nowhere, out of the blue, somebody that's just like, I just want you to know that this song has like saved my life. And that's, or like somebody at a show recently, he just like looked me in the eye and he said, I hope that you take this the right way, but I love you. And I was just like, I love you, like sincerely back to him. And I don't know, like I think there's something about like music that is nourishing, that nourishment piece, you know, that we're nourishing ourselves when we choose showing up instead of like choosing fear and shutting down and being kind of when we choose to be open and take risks with our friends in front of other people and take risks with putting ourselves out there creatively. And I think that is healing for people because we're just told that everything is so scary and that there's so much to fear in other people. And then we fear things in ourselves. And if music's a way to, you know, to get there, then that's our job.
I don't think I could add too much to that.
Going to a concert is a really nice time to just focus on one thing that also I think a lot of people don't get. I think a lot of people have intention to work on mindfulness in their lives and non-distraction, at least for a while. But oftentimes a concert can be a place where you actually can do that. And anyone who's listening, I encourage you, go to concerts and really pay attention, like put your phone away. You know, there's a lot of people nowadays who are responding to texts all through a concert. Concerts never, you know, at least in our kind of like in our world, it's never going to be longer than 90 minutes to 2 hours. Just put the thing down and listen and see if you can get swept up in it in the moment in a different way than you expected.
Driving out of Nashville, crying eyes behind the wheel, hurts so bad every time I go. I can't help the way I feel. After all, I made a deal. Thought I'd have much more than this to show. I don't know when I'll be back. I gotta go. Cat collector, it's a lonesome road that I choose. Packing up my suitcase blue.
This is actually, I want to know about the story of another song on Violet Light, the incredible How Bad I Want to Live, an incredible Mind of Vitry banger, featuring Sally and George on harmonies, which is the name of Shelby and Joel's duo, named after Shelby's grandparents. And Ethan, I hear from Maya that it was your idea to ask Shelby and Joel to sing harmonies. Like, how did that come about? Like, I don't know if this was the first time you all collaborated, but it's such an awesome song, and I'd love to hear, Ethan, top to bottom, your thoughts.
Well, technically we had collaborated before, but we'd collaborated on bike rides and rock climbing trips in various combinations of the four of us.
The Ethan and Maya rock climbing trips.
But yeah, I think that was the first musical collaboration for the four of us. Really, it was pretty simple. They're great musicians who sound amazing singing together. But that song is about a frightening and potentially really dangerous, potentially deadly experience Maya and I had on the Kalalau Trail in Kauai. And really simply, we had booked a trip to Hawaii because I had a companion pass on Southwest Airlines that year, and it was nearing the end of the year, and we were like, let's use it one more time. And so we went to Hawaii on it, and we ran into Shelby and Joel a few months before that at the Denver airport. We were all returning to Nashville. They were still living there at the time, I think. Yeah. And we just mentioned we were going to Kauai, and Joel was like, oh, you got to do the Kalalau Trail. It's crazy. It's beautiful. It's awesome. I did it years ago.
Okay. I remember. Okay. I was trying to I was scanning my inbox and my notes. I was like, there's something else to this story that I'm forgetting. And that's it, that it was Shelby and Joel that turned you towards that trail nearly took your life.
Totally. So when Maya wrote that song and it came time to record it, and we were co-producing that Violet Light album, making all of the sort of overarching artistic decisions together, it felt really obvious to me. And it was during COVID when we were having people all come in sort of one by one to the house to track on it. And it in addition to wanting the music to go, to have them involved, we just wanted to hang out with them too at the house.
Nice. Yeah.
And these guys were amazing on it. I think we worked on that song for 5 hours or something. I mean, they got really deep in we figured out all those parts on the bridge in there. We just pinpointed each of those notes that they were singing. And it was just a really, really fun day hanging out with them all day long. Maya probably made a chicken tortilla soup at the end of it.
I did, and I left it on a really unsafe setting, heat-wise, and then we had to Shelby's dad's a food scientist, so she got some data for us on whether or not we should eat it. But also, It was Shelby's idea. I remember we kind of thought we were done, and then she was like, "What if I sang this other part, on the verses?" And just that. So that really became a part of the song. To always have the harmony singer singing all those verses too, and she just nailed that part too. So it was such a fun day.
It's my first experience working with Maya as a vocal producer, and Ethan as well. But on the verse part, I remember Maya telling me, just put it a little more back, a little. We don't want to be too on top of the beat with the words. So can we relax the phrasing a little bit, pull it back? Because the song's really chugging along, but it was cool that the vocals were kind of pulling back.
What do you mean, not pronouncing so much?
A little bit. I kind of imagined it as if I kind of just had really sleepy, or I was waking up and just kind of stretching the words, stretching.
Oh, cool.
Some people kind of have described it to me as you can picture a car, and if the car is moving, you could be riding on the hood of the car and like your feet are kind of dangling right out front, or you're in the driver's seat, or you're in the back seat, or you're like maybe sitting on the trunk, but you're still like you're moving along, but like where in the beat when the actual like word is falling are you? And I didn't want Shelby riding on the hood. I was like, just, you know, get in the backseat a little bit, because it just the way it changes the way the song feels, and different styles of music feel different in that way. And so that's one way I had it described to me one time.
I get loud when I get mad, I get tough when I get sad. I'll tangle with the horns like a Spaniard in the pit. I'm here to play for blood, boys, and I'll be here till the end. For I am the bravest bullfighter that ever dared the pen. Yes,
Joel and Shelby met in 2012, and it seems like Joel decided that he was going to move to Nashville because of Shelby. I learned that in this interview. You started playing together as Sally and George. So what was your original musical connection like, and how do you still see that connection when you play together now?
Originally, I just saw Shelby on stage performing with Della. Playing bluegrass and being her wonderful charismatic self with upright bass, I was taken.
I picked my nose right as
And it was really like, we had a small chat that year at the festival, and then another, I kind of stayed in touch with her, had a crush on her, but it was a whole year that went by, over a year that went by before we even really had another conversation. And then I delivered her by email a song that I'd written describing the rest of our life together, like describing our first meeting and then like the rest of our life all the way to happy and old. And then she was kind of silent. The email correspondence kind of went dark for a couple weeks. And she explained that she had a boyfriend, but she thought it was a pretty cool song. We should keep in touch. And so it was like all that had happened and come to pass. And then her and her boyfriend broke up. And with me living in Charleston and her living in Nashville, it was kind of like, well, if we're going to date, we kind of have to like, somebody's going to have to get on a plane, like there's just like calendar meetings were involved from like the very beginning of our courtship. So we were just laying the building blocks for how to have a life in music together before we ever sang together. And I think that was like certainly an additional level of vulnerability of opening up our relationship. Like we'd been dating and supporting each other in our separate musical journeys, but then when we actually got together and like sang songs together, figured out what songs do you know? What songs do I know? Oh, could we write a song together? Like each of those was just a deeper level of trust and vulnerability. And like, fortunately we started singing together, and we were both choir kids, and we had a nice blend, and we write songs in different ways that I think complement each other. So it's continued to deepen. It's been amazing. This last chapter where Sally and George was very collaborative. We were like co-writing and kind of co-producing and making the arrangements together, and bringing in our separate influences. This last chapter has been like me leaning into my influences to make a solo record with Shelby right there, co-writing songs, singing harmonies, and baking treats during the studio. And then for Shelby's bluegrass record, I was kind of behind the scenes helping with the songwriting and the studio snacks. And so it's been neat to like each kind of disappear behind each other for a moment, and allow like our artistic voice to be more crystallized in these two different recordings.
This is a question about Joel's hair, which, as far as I can tell, has always been long. There it is. Currently, Joel's hair is this incredible mullet. If you haven't had a chance, it really is like, it's like really a separate beast. It is business in the front, and I mean, it is party in the front and party in the
party
back,
all
too,
over.
if I may be so bold. Joel, your hair is perhaps the most epic hair in all of folk and country. How long? I mean,
Put it on the
how long
poster.
have you had? How long have you had your hair cut? How does your hair impact the way people perceive you and your music? And this also is a free for all if anyone else wants to chime in about Joel's amazing hair.
I do have a lot to say on this subject. I haven't always had long hair. I could find some pictures where I had a platinum buzz cut. This was probably over 10 years ago though, before I probably had long hair when I met Shelby. And then during the pandemic, we were headed out west, and we stopped through Knoxville, Tennessee, and our friend Cindy Lou gave me my first mullet. Well, my first mullet since childhood, first adult mullet. And it was a very nicely feathered, very professional do. And I thought it would...
A bit Keith Urban, if I might add.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I thought it was going to be a brief transitional haircut back to some kind of like short hair or buzz cut. But I quickly just like felt this newfound power and masculinity and like respect, when I walked into a gas station, and then a friend of mine advised me like, dude, you need to grow a mustache to go with the mullet. And then when I did that, it unlocked this whole, like I finally became a man, essentially.
Wow.
People think he looks a lot like Tony Rice. And now with the mustache and the mullet, just if that, gets him backstage a lot of places. No, just. But actually, Ethan had a mullet, I believe, when Joel cut his hair into a mullet.
Yep. I credit Ethan as part of my inspiration for sure.
I'll take it.
He had to walk so I could run.
Yeah, his is better than mine ever was. Mine was out of COVID. I only could really see the front to cut my own hair, so I just kind of cut the front and let the back alone.
Yeah, Joel has since taken to cutting his own mullet. Every once in a while, he'll enlist me, and he tells me I'd like it to look like I went to what did you say? A French rusty no, it's
A park bench in London with a rusty razor?
something like that. Like make my hair look like, I want it rough and raw. And every once in a while, he'll get a pro to really shape the mullet but mainly it's about cutting out the ears, making sure the ears are visible.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a question about Shelby being good at explaining things. Of Shelby Means, Jerry Douglas has said she knows what she wants and she's good at explaining it. Would you all agree? And also, Shelby, where do you think that particular... I'm very envious of that trait, but where do you think that comes from?
With Jerry, I think going into the recording process, we had 13 songs and 3 days to get them all done. So I mapped out and I thought about the arrangements for each song. I knew who I wanted to solo where, and I knew what tempo I wanted the song to be at. And I wanted to be really prepared, and Maya helped me so much figuring all the logistics out, like who's coming in on what day and how we're gonna schedule the musicians. And then once we were in there, I didn't want to have to waste time thinking about arrangements. So I wanted to leave space a little bit for improvisations at the end of songs and a little bit at the beginning, but just having the general map of how the songs would go, that was important so we could get it all done. That's probably where it comes from with Jerry.
What does the rest of the class think?
She's a great communicator for sure. She really is. And she has a pleasant speaking voice, so people like listen and they want to hear what she has to say. But yeah, I mean, as like all the different roles that we play, relationship wise as partners or roommates or driving buddies or bandmates, that kind of communication is really, really valuable. So she's a good one to have around.
It's been hard to think of leaving with all these seeds in the garden. It was hard to leave the highway when it just went on and on. Nothing grows forever, that's just a good thing to remember. It's alright being right, it's alright being wrong. If there's any good thing, I'm gonna sing it. Anytime there's any good thing.
All right, on choosing Maya de Vitry as producer for both of your records, it is pretty cool, Shelby and Joel, that you both chose Maya to produce each of your solo debut albums. What made you want her as a producer, and like what's something that surprised you about what kind of producer she was in practice?
Maybe I should go first just because chronologically I made that decision first, and I'd been playing guitar for Maya for a little bit at that point, and sort of like mulling over the idea that I wanted to make a solo record, and kind of thought like, well, maybe the ideal person is like a keyboard player, you know, that also has a studio, you know, and maybe they're a drummer too. Then we can just like, me and this person can just like knock the whole thing out and record it, and it'll be really like minimal. But then I just was just kind of watching the way that Maya led her band, and then also sort of was creating an identity separate from what she'd done with the Stray Birds. And just like, you know, watching the studio that she was working at and the people that she was playing with, and just thought, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I want. And I really love her songwriting and her attention to the vocals. So just all those skills together. And I love her recordings, and I knew that she had been, you know, producing and co-producing her last couple records, and was like, well, yeah, let's give it a shot. And you know, it was a new. I never made a solo record before, so I didn't have anything to sort of weigh it against. So it felt like let's just walk through this door. And I knew the scheduling would be easy because we were touring together, so we could work in the gaps, versus coordinating two different touring schedules. So there were like both practical and creative considerations. But I'm really, really happy it turned out so good. Like a lot of the work went in before this recording ever started. I came to Nashville a couple times. Maya came to Charleston, and we sort of workshopped the songs, went through the notebooks, figured out what we wanted to do and how they were going to feel and what instruments we wanted and who was going to be there on what days, you know, and we got it all organized, and it turned out better than I could have ever expected. And Shelby was watching me this whole time,
taking notes. Yeah, I have made records with producers. My first with a producer was Della May's This World Oft Can Be, who Brian Sutton produced. And he was a really good producer. He did a pre-production session with us, and then we got into the studio, and he managed all the parts. Just, it wasn't so much scheduling because it was one band, but he managed the ups and downs of recording and the vulnerability of like hearing yourself and helping to pull the best out of each of us, I think. So I knew that a good producer could do that sort of thing. And I'd also had, Joel and I made Sally and George records self-produced. And although there were joys involved in that, there were also many challenges involved in self-producing. So I wanted a producer for my solo record. And having seen Maya work with Joel, I knew she really honored the vision of the artist. And I thought that was super important. I also heard that Maya was invited into the Sweetwater Warblers recording session as a studio doula. And that was kind of what they called her. And I thought, that sounds perfect. I need a studio doula. Someone to help me feel comfortable, to kind of be my cheerleader and just make sure that I'm relaxed, because that will create a better product in the end. So that was really cool, knowing that about Maya, and just having played with her before, and with Maya as a band leader, I could imagine what it would be like if she was in a leadership role in the studio. And I really trust her ear and her, one thing I was surprised and impressed with is when you're in the studio, you're working really intensely for many hours in a row. And the producer is in charge of listening to everything and making sure that everything gets done, and making sure that you got the best that you can without going too far, not pushing the artist too far to the point where things aren't improving, but like keep going until things get better. And then, yes, we got it. So Maya's ability to focus and say, I think we got it, I think we need to move on, that was really impressive to me. It's not surprising, but it's impressive.
All right, I got a couple questions about both of your solo records. So Joel, Psychedelic Surf Country, I wanted to ask you about the swimming song. So that has everybody on the call is on the swimming song. Maya and Shelby are on harmonies. Ethan is on bass. It's a Loudon Wainwright III song that you heard him play live in 2017. I just got to interview Loudon.
Really?
It was so awesome. Yeah. And I listened to his audiobook, his memoir, which if you have not checked it out, it's really excellent. There's a whole chapter on like his 10 favorite places to go swimming. So anyways, I just love that song. It's a classic. I love your version of it. Joel, what was it about that song that resonated with you? And then what was that one like for everyone to record?
I grew up on the beach, so it was a super relatable. I wasn't really a pool kid, but I was a beach kid and a creek kid for sure. So just that joy and freedom and power that comes for being a little kid and moving your body through the water. I still take great joy in that. So the song was a really obvious one for me. And just sort of the kind of the surf punk. I don't even really know where that came from. That's just kind of, I just started playing it, and that's just kind of how it came out, rather than doing it in like the 12/8 kind of thing, and the band really latched right onto that, and Maya and Shelby's harmonies. I'm really pleased with the whole thing. And we made a music video for that song also, and we used some footage from like the early 80s that my mom had shot on Super 8 of me and my cousins playing on the beach, So it's like there's
a baby in the nude.
Yeah, yes, right. It's it hasn't been flagged yet. That's me actually. Got my first solo record album, my full frontal.
Wow. Brave.
Yeah, I'm just not really, there's nothing to hide,
Excellent.
Let me see.
Okay, so the other song I want to ask you about was Guitars, Guns, and Pickup Trucks. So Joel, you wrote that song for Shelby's dad, who you said is a tough Western dude with a gun safe, a collection of old trucks, and a deep love of bluegrass music. And he is in Wyoming, I think. So what have you learned about getting along with people who are different from you thanks to your father-in-law?
Yeah, God, that's a great question. Turns out that as gruff as he was at first, and how, interested he was in my qualifications to date his daughter, we have a lot in common. We have more in common than we do differently, and it was like communicating through those differences knowing like which subjects are like not worth, arguing over. We can stay in the lanes where we have common ground and find out where we disagree and then stay away from those. If for the good of the meal. But yeah, he's on his way up to Montana Fiddle Camp, so he's going to Bluegrass Camp this week too. So we're
cute
relating. Yeah.
I think my dad was so happy that Joel wrote a song for him. He gifted him a guitar. So wow. I'm glad it was a guitar. I don't need another pickup truck. Just kidding. I would take a pickup truck.
I think he was worried I was going to show up to a Shelby Means bluegrass gig with a Taylor or something, so he had to get me a D18.
Yeah.
Oh. Very good.
He's a traditionalist.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Shelby Means, your debut self-titled album. At the time of this episode being released, the album will be out.
Hooray!
Hooray. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, all right, this is actually a question for Ethan. Ethan.
You've been listening to the record, I know, Ethan.
I'm sure you've heard this album. Maya mentioned that you offered like a big emotional support when she was working on Shelby's record. For those who don't know, Ethan is a bass player. What kind of advantage did Maya have with you, a bass player, in her corner while she was producing a bassist's solo record?
I'm not sure if it was an advantage that I'm a bass player in particular. Maya's really good at like I'm more of an external processor, and Maya can be more of an internal processor. And when we've worked on music together, Violet Light was very much, we kind of were talking about everything. But like, for instance, her How to Break a Fall record, which I played bass on, I lived with her at that time. She was writing the songs actively over many months, and I had never heard them until I got to the studio.
Wow.
And she had managed to keep it only work in times when I wouldn't be able to hear. And so actually, as far as anything like musically that might relate to this record, not that I even would have wanted to have any part of that to step on Maya's leadership, but I just kind of would overhear snippets of roughs or mixes or stuff like that when she would listen to them on the home stereo. But I didn't even hear the full record until Shelby had a listening party at the studio where they made it a couple weeks ago. And that was the first time I actually heard everything. So it truly was just more, emotional support. I think for better or for worse, being in a partnership with another musician means that we understand how deeply we get into projects and how much they mean to us and how much we care about them. And that there's a lot that goes into that intrapersonally and logistically and your personal energy, management and stuff like that. So I really just, really just was, we call ourselves each other's vibe coach. So, I think I was there as a vibe coach when necessary, but otherwise I certainly wouldn't want me being a bass player with my own style to like influence anything about another record that Maya was working on that I wasn't involved in, even if it was a bass player with her own style.
Yeah, but I would not have been able to make any of these records in the way that I made them with the conviction that I did, or with the attention that I was able to give without having a supportive partner like Ethan. Like, you know, even if it's like coming home from a long day at a studio and like he's made a stir fry and I'm just like, oh, there's food. Oh my gosh. Like, you know, it's like those moments of, or just, yeah, I don't know, like just the fact that some of the people that we were working with on Shelby's record, like Ethan had worked with them before, played with them before. There were connections that I was able to feel a little more, like there was like a little less distance between me and bluegrass in general, just because of some of Ethan's more recent connections with bluegrass. And, you know, I don't, like, very subtle things like that that actually really can affect you and just, yeah, just knowing that he trusted me and believed in me, like, as a human, you know, that's nice to have that. You can't really, like, you can't really ever value that enough. And how that translates then to how you show up in your work, you know?
Shelby, this is a bluegrass album, which is one of your deep musical loves, and you've talked about your Nashville jam sessions with neighbors and friends. What were those jam sessions like, and how do you think they evolved your musicality or connection to other players?
They were awesome. I would try and think of all my friends and the different instruments that I wanted to come to the jam session, and I never closed the jam. I wanted it to be like if my friend had a new friend in town visiting and they played the banjo and they wanted to come over, that was totally fine with me. I usually had some sort of food, some chili, which I learned from my parents who would host jam sessions. If you eat good, you play good. So we had food. Sometimes there would be a theme, like on Valentine's Day, I would do like heart cookies or whatever. But just fun, just trying to have fun. And my goal moving to Nashville was to surround myself with players who were better than me and to get better by that. Just play with people who are better. And through that, I met so many great friends and a lot of collaborators on my record with songwriting. Just kind of happened into writing songs after hanging out after a jam or something like that. So organic, but I think that can kind of describe my Nashville time. Everything, I felt like I got into the Nashville flow when I first moved to town, and one party led to another party where I met someone else, and then I was hanging out with Christian, then I ended up moving in with him, and then we had a great household together, Christian Settlemeyer, because he was is a very outgoing person, and was like a conspirator. Yeah, let's get the jams together. But sometimes they were even super simple, because in our little complex, it was me and Christian in the duplex, Frank Rishi and sometimes his sisters or other friends living on the other side, and Kelsey Walden in the trailer right next door. So that already was a good jam. So we just hang out and play music and just be silly, get together. And we're in our 20s and living it up in Nashville, Music City.
This album also chronicles you and Joel leaving Nashville for Charleston, which is Joel's home turf.
Yeah.
Actually was like so excited to learn that you guys are in Charleston. My aunts and uncle live there, and we visited them a couple of times, and it is awesome.
Yes.
So fun. But that is chronicled in the song Suitcase Blues, which sounds like it was a hard move. So what has that move been like for you both?
Yeah, for me, it kind of bears it all in the song a little bit, just of my nostalgia and about leaving Nashville. But shortly after we moved to Nashville, I got this amazing gig with Molly Tuttle and Golden Highway, and that really helped me feel like everything I'd worked for in Nashville was worth something, that I had a connection there. I had work based out of Nashville. So that felt really good. And it also felt really good to come back home to Charleston and be able to go for a walk on the beach and be surrounded by family, which is super important to me as well. So every transition I feel has some stickiness, a little bit of just navigating mentally that I have to do to get through it and just try and stay positive about it. But I certainly really enjoy living in Charleston now and being around Joel. It makes Joel happy to be home, and that's really important to our relationship, like our mental health and happiness. So we got to prioritize that.
Yeah, just to clarify, it was right after we moved back to Charleston from Nashville that Shelby got the call from Molly for that gig, and I was really relieved because it was a huge gesture for our relationship for her to move away from that town where she had kind of like established herself as an adult and as a musician and as a preeminent bluegrass picker. So I knew that if she had lost that opportunity because we'd relocated to South Carolina, it might have been the end of our marriage, or we might have just been quickly moving back to Tennessee or something. So it was really good. It was really good for her to have that work and still be so connected with the community there, and for me to be playing with Maya in Nashville as well. I'm there as much as I was when I lived there, because I was touring so much out of Nashville. We were traveling to Sally and George, and I was playing with Soul Driven Train. And then when I would get back to Nashville, I would want to be, go surfing or go hiking is like kind of the way that I recharge my battery. And Nashville wasn't nurturing in that way. It's like the social scene, the jams, that's what it gives. And that can fill your cup, but, for me, I love Nashville more when I can treasure what it has to offer and not expect things out of it that it's not capable of delivering for me. And so I go to South Carolina for the ocean and for the family ties and for my old friends. And I go to Nashville for the musical community and for the incredible shows that go down every night of the week, and the spontaneous collaborations that occur.
Amazing.
Ethan and Maya had a lot to do with Joel's mental happiness in Nashville, because they also love hiking and like rock climbing, like we were saying. And so to connect with people who were such badass musicians that also wanted to go move their bodies and find beautiful spots in nature, that was a turning point, I think, in our Nashville time. Off topic, but relating to all of us here.
Well, Maya, Shelby, and Joel right now are at Music Summer Camp, and I know that Maya and Shelby are going to be playing in Charleston. I mean, when you're listening to this episode right now, this is all in the past, but I texted my uncle and I was like, check out this cool show. But it seems like the friendship endures despite the distance between the four of you.
Yeah, we love hosting our friends to come to Charleston. It's a nice getaway. There's an easy nonstop flight from Nashville to Charleston. And if anyone's craving a little ocean time, you can come visit Shelby and Joel on the beach. And same like for us coming to Nashville, just we treasure Maya and Ethan and our friendship there. And thankfully, we've got these easy flights or a day drive to get to the next city.
Yeah, Joel and Shelby hosted me and Ethan for 4th of July, I think it was, last summer. We went for a beach vacation and stayed with them for a couple days and took us biking on the beach, and we saw some beautiful sunsets, and they know where to go to get the fresh catch and have the best fish. all of the summer.
That was grouper for the ages. That Joel curled up for us.
And that felt really good to do that, because that was we had tracked. Joel and I were sort of at the end of the work with his record, and then Shelby and I were still in the midst of her record, but we had tracked it in Nashville in March, and then there were still some harmony singers to track down, scheduling things to align. But to be able to just set all that aside and go ride bikes on the beach for a couple days, that was a really meaningful trip.
Yeah, one of the things that can be tough as a musician that might not be obvious to other people who work other professions, you kind of end up, all your friends are musicians and you all really love music a lot and you like playing it and talking about it. And it can be really easy to only do that with your friends and only ever connect through music, which is fine. But, picture, for anyone who's listening to this, picture your career. And if you only ever connected to people who did that and who only talked about that, it might get old after a while. And,
right.
Music is a really wonderful, powerful thing that we all do ultimately out of joy, but remembering to connect not about music, remembering to culture friendships that are more normal, just about being friends. And, on that trip in particular, maybe we played a little music together, but I don't know that we ever really did. It was more like, let's go take a bike ride, or let's go take a walk, or let's go see some music, which is maybe a more normal person thing to do, or go get a taco or grill some fish or whatever. And that's, I don't know. I guess that's a thing I think with the four of us hanging out in general, since we've all known each other, I feel like we have kind of prioritized that with, going hiking or climbing or doing all these other things in addition to the music, just to make sure that at the end of the day, we connect in more ways than just through our instruments,
Okay. This has been awesome. Before I let you go, we're going to do a lightning round. Ethan and Maya have played this game before. It's kind of like the Newlyweds. It's called Which One? And we're going to go back and forth between Maya and Ethan and Shelby and Joel. So your answer is yourself, your spouse, both of you, or none of you. Like Maya and Ethan, we'll do this one first to give an example for Shelby and Joel. Maya and Ethan, which one? Oh, wait, I forgot about this. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. And then after I say 1, that's when you say the answer. Apologies. Okay, here we go. Maya and Ethan, which one knows all the passwords? 3, 2, 1.
Ethan.
Maya, I have to turn your mic on.
Oh.
Let's do it again.
I lip read what she said.
Oh, she said Ethan. Okay. Okay. All right. Do you guys get it?
Got it.
I think so.
Okay. Shelby and Joel, which one is writing you a really long note in your birthday card? 3, 2, 1.
Neither one of us.
You neither.
Neither. Sorry, that's not an answer, but it's
No, it is
truth.
an answer. It's all right.
Okay.
We'll keep trying.
Okay.
I'm not giving up on you two. All right. Maya and Ethan, which one is sending postcards on vacation? 3, 2, 1.
Maya.
All right. Okay. All right. Shelby and Joel, which one is winning the card game? 3, 2, 1.
Joel.
Joel.
All right. Okay. All right. Maya and Ethan, which one is awake in the middle of the night? 3, 2, 1.
Ethan. Well, it could be both. Yeah.
All right.
I want to do that one too.
Okay. We'll do one more for Shelby and Joel,
Okay.
and then we'll do one for everyone. Okay. Shelby and Joel, which one is driving?
Joel.
3.
Joel, yeah.
Joel.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even give you
3,
time
2,
to
1.
count.
That's okay. Sometimes it's too exciting. Okay, this one is for everyone. We'll do the countdown.
Okay.
And then we'll learn which one is petting every dog. 3, 2, 1.
All of us.
All of us, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole crew.
The whole
Yeah.
crew.
Only if I've just seen a dog actively plow through poison ivy. Like there was a time when their dog Casper was out on the road with us, and he had just plowed through some poison ivy, and then he came over for some cuddles, and I rejected him.
Oh, man.
One
Ever
time
since
only.
I've gotten poison ivy from my dog, so that is smart.
Epic. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been really wonderful sitting and talking with you all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Cindy.
This episode of Basic Folk was produced by CJ Nungesser. Dietrich Strauss composes our music. Basic Folk is a production of The Bluegrass Situation. You can find all of our episodes there. You can search for Basic Folk on the SiriusXM app. You can check us out on Folk Alley's mobile app or folkalley.com. You can go to basicfolk.com, or you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, perhaps you should share it with a friend. Maybe that friend who is a former farm girl, or that friend who has the most epic hair. That friend truly will appreciate this episode. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. Talk to you next time. Bye.